And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Kyle. And Kyle writes, "Hey, John. So it looks like Brendan Fraser is going to be playing the villain Firefly in the upcoming HBO Max Batgirl project. I love Brendan in Doom Patrol so much, dude. So do I. So I am freaking hyped here. What are your thoughts? Thanks." All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, you know, it's funny because it was just either yesterday or a couple of days ago that somebody wrote in and said, "Hey, you know, John, I used to love Brendan Fraser, love seeing him in, The Mummy and things like that." And he said, "Do you think we could see him return to do those types of roles, like the roles he played in The Mummy, kind of Indiana Jones types of roles?" And what I said at the time was, dude, I love Brendan Fraser too. I've actually loved Brendan Fraser since George of the Jungle. That's right, George of the Jungle with Leslie Mann. I loved him in that movie. Unapologetically, I love that movie just in general. I just thought that movie was a lot of fun. I still do to this day, and I still love Leslie Mann to this day too, at any rate. And then, then you realize, he did things like Encino Man and some other things like that. And it wasn't until he did that movie with Joe Pesci called With Honors that I was like, oh my God, not only is this Brendan Fraser dude have a really great charisma on screen, is a real fun presence on screen. Holy shit, this dude can act. Man, is this guy good. And then I really became kind of enamored with him as an actor and a performer. Now, what I said in the companion video, Brendan Fraser is in a different place right now physically. So I don't see him doing those high adventure Indiana Jones or the Mummy roles anymore, maybe. But I don't know. It is what it is. And we talked about the fact that we've been seeing him pop up in more stuff lately. His name's getting mentioned and announced in more and more things lately, which is great to see, because I'd love to see Fraser-sance. There you go. I coined the phrase, the Fraser-sance. We had the McConaissance, now we're going to have the Fraser-sance. I think we are poised for Fraser-sance. Anyway, in that environment, yesterday came the news that he's actually going to be the villain in the Batgirl series. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety, who writes, "Brendan Fraser has been cast in DC's upcoming Batgirl movie. He will play the villainous Firefly, which is interesting. A sociopath with a passion for pyrotechnics, opposite star Leslie Grace, who was fantastic in The Heights earlier this year. Specific plot details for Batgirl have been kept under wraps, though it centers on Barbara Gordon, the daughter of Gotham Police Commissioner Jim Gordon. J.K. Simmons is returning to portray Jim Gordon after first portraying the character in Zack Snyder's Justice League." That comes to us from the folks over at Variety. All right. First things first. I love this. Anything that announces that Brendan Fraser is going to be in it, I love. So I'm all on board for this. It's very curious, though, to me that the villain they chose, Firefly. Now, Firefly is a character who is very different today than what it was in its inception, because when Firefly first arrived in the comics, which I think was 60s or 70s or something like that, Firefly was this character who basically used lighting effects. It was a light expert and would use lighting effects to pull off crimes, for lack of a better way to describe it. Then around the Crisis era, they totally changed the character into more of what Variety describes as a sociopathic pyromaniac, right? Now, the TV show Gotham that was on recently, they had a female version of the Firefly character there. There's been a lot of different iterations in the animated shows and whatever of Firefly as well. And actually it's kind of come to the point, oh, hello, Grizzly. Go on. Grizzly just opened my door and came walking right in. Okay, go lay down. All right, anyway, sorry about that. Got distracted a little bit. Has actually become one of the more kind of mainstay villains in the Batman kind of hierarchy of his rogues gallery, right? So it's a very interesting choice. It's not, at least to me, I can't speak for anybody else. I have never really personally identified Firefly with Batgirl per se, but maybe there has been story arcs in the Batgirl comics that I'm not aware of. That's fine. But it makes sense that they're going to use a bat family kind of villain for this. And in this case, it's going to be Brendan Fraser. Now let's talk about Brendan Fraser for a second, because this isn't like the first thing. There really is a Fraser-sance going on. This also is from Variety here. Batgirl isn't Fraser's first foray into the DC universe. He's currently voices a character in the HBO Max superhero TV show Doom Patrol, which he is so good. I love that character in Doom Patrol so much. Anyway, it does, however, continues a career resurgence for the George of the Jungle and the Mummy star, who all but disappeared from Hollywood in the mid-2000s. He's since emerged in Steven Soderbergh's crime drama, No Sudden Move, and Danny Boyle's Trust on FX. Fraser recently landed the lead role in Darren Aronofsky's next film, The Whale, an adaptation of Samuel D. Hunter's play about 600-pound middle-aged recluse, and he will be seen in Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, which my accountant's wife is actually one of the stars of that movie. Anyway, alongside Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. Deadline was the first to report on this casting. The Fraser-sance, ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. It's real. Embrace it. Own it. Love it. I think this is great. I really do. And I've been wanting to see this guy return. As a matter of fact, even when he popped up, do you guys remember when he popped up quickly in that Channing Tatum G.I. Joe movie? He had like one scene in it. He had like one scene in that movie. And I was like, yeah. And all of a sudden I like the movie more just because he popped up in it. Now, where's his career going to go right now? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see with all these new opportunities. Like he's Marty Scorsese, Aronofsky, Soderbergh. I mean, he's working now with the top of the top. But to me, he'll always be this guy. He'll always be this guy. I don't care. I love him in Doom Patrol. Now, granted, the number one word he uses in his dialogue and vocabulary is the word fuck. I would be actually very interested. I don't know if any of you guys have an actual report. How many times has he said fuck in that show? It's got to be in the, without exaggeration, it's got to be in the thousands. It has to be in the thousands. But at any rate, I love this character so much. I love him voicing this character. I love it when we actually get to physically see him in the role as well. It's just so good. It's just so good. And to seeing how he's doing this now. But again, I will be very interested to see, now that he's getting all these opportunities to work with Soderbergh, to work with Aronofsky, to work with Marty Scorsese, where's that going to put him once those projects are done? Will this just be a short kind of flash that we get him back? Or will this signal a new long-term thing that, no, Brendan Fraser is back, man. He's back, and he's going to be a mainstay in our movies for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I hope that. So we'll have to see. Anyway, question is for you guys. What do you think about this, about Brendan Fraser being cast as Firefly to be the villain in the upcoming Batgirl HBO Max movie? Whatever you guys are feeling about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.